grain of rice, a grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.
Hi folks, how are you all doing? Lovely February morning out there. You're very welcome along to today's Irish Examiner podcast. Second one of the year, really, in conjunction with Allianz. So delighted to have the bold Brian Hogan along with us today. Start of a new era in Kilkenny, and we'll get to you, Brian, about that. Tough gig for Derek, but no better man to have a go at it and off the steady start, if not spectacular steady. But Cork Park has proven to be a very difficult place for noted counties such as Wexford and Clare to go to. But how are the Buccos, Mark? You a bit of tragedy over the weekend, although you're not the worst ever now. She can still go and breed.
Yeah, the highs and lows of sport, I suppose, enter from. You know, as a fella said to me over the weekend, if Carlsberg did weekends, this is it. Like Ireland winning Saturday, Man United winning, and then Cork coming from behind to beat the All-Ireland champions, and then Liverpool getting beaten and England getting beaten. It couldn't be any better. But anyway, myself and the bowl TJ ended up in the DRF yesterday in Leopardstown, and unfortunately, we were there to follow the Queen.
Dublin
we had a big crowd
there for the uneducated out there. Sorry,
you're all right. Yeah. So unfortunately, she ruptured a tendon, a bit like Robbie on the weekend, hurt her ankle. So unfortunately, her days of racing and the fun that she provided us with in Dundalk and Wexford and Tramore, we had great days out of her. And I was only remarking to Jackie last night, like she tarred the house and she put a roof on the house here as well. Like, you know, such was the inflow of cash that we got from prize money, and taking a few quid off of Paddy Powers as well was a big help. But she provided great fun and great crack. And I suppose, look, at least I'm coming home with a mare that can be put in foal, and she's 8 wins under her belt, which makes her a good mare to have. And I suppose I'd like to thank all the people that, you know, I met above there yesterday. And in particular, a man came over to me with a drop of whiskey, and he said, "Listen, I want to tip the hat with you there. I got a good few quid out of the Queen down through the years. Drop that there, my man. Tis like a small little debt in the family, but it's outside the door. That's the most important thing." But, you know, for the likes of Ken Budds, who has done it. Yeah. They're the boys there. Yeah, we had a fair few boys around the place there. Yeah, all different parts of the country. But anyway, look, her racing career is over, but we move on to the second stage of her career now, which will be breeding. But it's a bit of a blow because she great entertainment, great fun for us, and for all the people that have supported her down through the years. Thanks very much for all the well wishes.
Yeah, a dream mare to winning 8 races, like, I mean, and winding up her career, okay, an injury, but in Leopardstown as well on Dublin Racing Festival weekend. Yeah, and Honeysuckle running the same weekend, like.
That's right. Two great mares. You know, I'd love to have half the prize money that Honeysuckle has won down through the years, but I suppose, like everything, Honeysuckle has had her day, and there's a new horse now coming to the fore in Stateman, and being Irish racing supporters will be going on to take on Constitution Hill, I was suspecting, the champion hurdle. They have the all-conquering horse over in the UK, and that will be the clash, I would think, for Cheltenham, will be Constitution Hill and Stateman. It's really the Henderson versus the Mullins. It'll be brilliant on the day. It'll be the Irish versus the English. What better way to celebrate?
Bad news for him. We'll see what way Constitution Hill goes past him.
Jeez, I don't know. Yeah. This one's a good one.
He's fair. Okay.
We'll take him on the Dalo.
No doubt. My cash will rest with Nicky Henderson. I'm not sentimental when it comes to the gambling over there. I'll be on the Henderson one anyway. My doubles and triples. But anyway,
I'll be falling behind our own one in this one. I can tell you now. This fella's good. Statement.
Yeah, look good. You just off seats in Cork, lads. You had look after your team.
You always get well looked after in Cork. There was a big crowd down there, 20,000. Great atmosphere there, and very much a game of two halves. Like I met some Cork people at half time, and the mood was kind of same old player, same old shite. But to be fair to them, their second half performance was very much what the Cork people would like. Very much what you'd like as a home team playing in front of a big crowd like that, and very much like when a new manager comes in, and all these boys will know that they'll need a bit of credit to put into the bank, so they need to get the supporters and the fans on side. You need people to believe that what you're doing and stuff. And Pat, in fairness, got that in spades in the second half, and getting the result was, I'd say, just excellent for them. Good start for him. And like that's what you want to do. We're there to win matches. Limerick went down to win the match. They played really, really well in the first half, scoring 16 points. But second half performance, John would know that it wouldn't be good enough. But I don't think they'll be panicking either. But at the same time, I think you touched on it there and seemed to touch a nerve with some of the other managers as well, Dalo, about the league. I think it is what it is. I said, look, we've come to expect.
I'm hearing bits about that this morning there. I don't know what the story is there. I can't get the examiner.
I think a league medal, I think, has gone from €2 now to about €4 today, Dale. So it's up to you now to defend your comments, because I'm not on Twitter now, as you know, but I'm led to believe your buddy Davy Fitz had a right go off of you.
Yeah, sure. Look, yeah, we worked together successfully last year in RT, and I thought, a little bit of tension just be there between us over the years, but obviously it's stirred up again because I said something about the beloved National League. But I think a lot of Wexford support or Waterford supporters wouldn't be too worried about winning the league again now. I think they'd like to win the All-Ireland, so I'd say concentrate on that, maybe probably it'd be the thing. I know, you know what I meant. You know what I meant. You all know what I meant. We discussed it on Friday.
But
it's too short, 2 weeks.
Listen, Dalo, it's an overreaction, right? It's an overreaction to a situation where a fella was in a winning position over the weekend. He get 2 players sent off, and then starts having a go because of something that's said in the paper. Like, come on. In fairness, get on with the game. You're 8 points up, finish it out, and mind your discipline and stuff like that, and get the game won. I think it's an overreaction, 100%.
Yeah, I'll be okay, Mark. I'll be okay. I'm going to try and make Campbell when we're finished recording, and I'll be okay. You needn't worry. Hoagie, end of an era. I hadn't thought you'd never see it, I suppose. We'll go back to Cork again, lads. I want to go through the match a bit. But were you happy with Derek's appointment? Some people would have, Henry obviously had tied up with Galway, but we thought Liam Cahill was tied up with Waterford, but he came back instantly. There was talk of Mick Finlay had finished up with Offaly. There was talk of DJ. There was talk of lots of people. Some people didn't see Derek coming, but I suppose with the under 21 team, if you're keeping under 20 team, if you're keeping an eye on it, he obviously was building towards it. Maybe we expected Brian also would go on for at least another year. So it's a bit of a shock to us. What's the feeling like down there? Of course, he will get patience and he will get time.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it last year when obviously Brian made these announcements. I think Derek was the obvious candidate, with Henry tied up with Galway, and I no doubt he has aspirations to take Kilkenny at some point. Derek was part of the management team with Brian, went into the 20s, was successful last year. I think he was Brian's choice, if in terms of who he would have wanted to step in. He's served his apprenticeship, if you like. I'm sure you know Derek Dale. I'm sure you've crossed paths with Derek. He's a very solid, bright person. He knows he's a driven individual. He knows what he wants to get out of it. And I think it's in safe hands. I think he was the obvious, really. For the few weeks when people were throwing different names around, he was at the top of it. He was one of the guys at the top of the list. I don't think realistically Henry was going to walk away from Galway after 1 year, so just between the two lads. And I think he's been quietly going about his business over the last few months with the lads, and has looked at a lot of lads in the county, and I met him at a few of the club matches, post the season, and look, he's, as you said, anything different, Hoagie, anything that jumps out as this is new and this is, it's just the obvious thing is the freshness within the camp in terms of that, that difference of not having Brian there. He's been there for over 20 years, talking to a few of the lads, Derek is a different character to Brian, obviously. You know, there's some similarities, but Derek would be his own man. And in terms of, you know, he's put his own stamp on things in terms of training and the way that it's structured. You know, be extremely professional in how he goes about things. And the way they're playing, look, again, it's early days. We're going off one match so far, but
yeah,
you know, if you look at the under-20s and the way they tried to play the game last year, you know, Derek is definitely looking to, I suppose, put his own stamp on things. He does appear to be looking to use the short game a bit more. You know, retain possession. Again, the way the game has gone itself, you know, Derek is looking to utilise that, but he's smart enough to know as well that you have to use it in the context of the players you have, you know, and play to your strengths. And our strengths in Kilkenny have always been that ability to, I suppose, to win primary possession. So you see like Billy Drennan there yesterday, for a relatively small guy, those kind of basics are not going to change. You know, if you're going to be putting on the jersey, you're going to have to be capable of winning your own ball. And Billy, you know, I suppose demonstrated that there yesterday, albeit the use of the ball was quite good. You know, I think the highlight on the Sunday game, which is fairly evident anyway, some of the ball that David Blanchfield was playing from left across to right, and that kind of very diagonal, deliberate ball to the outside of the shoulder, you know, to Billy in a couple of cases, you know, so working it out from the backs, but then delivering that kind of right ball into space. So, you know, that's, I suppose it's evolving maybe what Brian had done over the last few years. And as well, I suppose, trying to integrate a couple of the younger guys, you know, trying to find a couple of guys who can, I suppose, add something a bit different, you know, and Billy's at the top of that list.
And obviously, given the Ballyhale boys the due rest that they'll need. Mark, you said, I don't know how much weight you said he'd put on, or a gym work kind of weight now. I don't mean
9 or 10 kilos, I think.
Jeez, he looked at last night. I just saw the highlights now.
I'm glad. I'm laughing at what Brian said there. A relatively small kind of fella, Billy Drennan, like, you know. Cheers, I can tell you. He might have been light the first day we struck a golf ball at the Galway GA Classic last year, but I can tell you he's after turning out to be a big lad now. And no different to Owen Cody a number of years ago when he came out of Harty Hurling. We saw him with Ballyhale flicking in that goal against Ballygunner on the muck and down at Tullis. And next of all, 6 months later, he turns out for Kilkenny and he's like a tank. So whatever the strength and conditioning is and whatever the lads do in Kilkenny, they can put on and bulk up in a very short period of time. And to be fair, he's been very good in the Welsh Cup already this year because he got a couple of Men of the Match awards as well. And Dalo, I didn't see your fantasy team, but he's certainly in my fantasy team for the league. So I was delighted to see him get 1-8 and Man of the Match. What's that? Is he in yours?
Captain.
Oh, you were listening to me so last week when I was blowing him up for you.
Yes, I always listen to you, Mark. You don't think I do, but I listen to you as well there, Mark. You said
Siri doesn't listen to me anyway.
Siri, you want to turn off Siri? But no, I was listening to there when you said Owen Cody when he came out of Harty Hurling. You wouldn't want to say that in front of Jackie Turrell, such as his disdain for Harty Cup hurling.
I was going to pick him up on it, but I said I leave him off.
You heard it loud and clear.
I did. Sure, there's nothing beyond Harty Hurling. The Crow Cup doesn't exist, probably because they haven't won in donkey's years. But
yeah, massive Harty Cup final yesterday. Nearly 8,000 people. You don't get that at the Leinster Colleges final, Huggy. Cashel and Turles and the underdogs prevailing. So just to say, massive congrats to Cashel Community School. First ever Harty Cup title, following on from Tulla 2 years ago. You know, it's a great story. I think really that teams can come and I think there's a massive West Tipperary community behind them. You know,
you'd have to give a shout out to the combined Offaly colleges as well, beating my old school. You know, while disappointed, obviously, to see Kieran's being beaten, it's it's positive to see Offaly now getting back competitive. We probably remember the likes of Burr and these community school. These Michael is obviously doing a lot of work up there trying to I suppose get them back up to the top table underage, and we saw the benefit when Dublin colleges did it combined, and that was a springboard for like Conal Kiely and Joey Bowe and all the lads to come through. So that'll definitely give Offaly Hurling a big boost as well coming into the minor championship.
Brian, a big amazing team, Brian, is actually 6 schools involved there in that amalgamation. So that takes a fair amount of logistics for the guys in charge of it, and it's fantastic to see the success yesterday. And obviously beating a team like Kieran's is massive in the final. So your man young Screeney has continued his form. He got a goal in 8 yesterday, 1-3 from play, and he's a really good talent, Dalo. You would have picked him out last year as one of the talents, the underage talents, and the big thing is to give him a platform now going forward to bring him to the next level.
Yeah, having met his mum and dad up at the Burr fundraiser there the other side of Christmas, I think Owen Screeney would want to do a bit of study now for your leaving as well, Owen, right? We're telling you here from the podcast, kid. If you want to get to UL or someplace, you need to open a few of the books. Mammy was a bit worried about you on the night, so we'll give it to you officially here from the four of us. You have to do a bit as well, right? Very important to keep the touch in with the hurling, but an All-Ireland Colleges medal won't get you points, but it might get you a few kudos and maybe a bit of a scholarship. But yeah, it was one of the things she said to me. So if you ever get a chance to talk to that fella, we'll tell him open a few books. But he's a great talent, lads. Really enjoyed him last year. I think there's anything up to 12 of the Offaly minor team are lining out for this team. And the gas thing is it's under 19. They'd all only be under 18. So there is talent, you know, the lad Dan Ravenhill midfield, real powerful guy. The only thing, of course, with this now is Kieran's are not gone away, you know. How much was in it, Brian? Was it tight or did they win it well, Offaly?
2 points.
2 points.
116, 114, Dalo.
Yeah, don't be surprised.
And only a point. And a point between Thurles and Cashel. And those lads from Tipperary yesterday, TJ made the point that they felt that Thurles possibly could be the better team, and they haven't gone away now either.
No. And I think Athenry have a good team this year as well. Have young your man Mark, the free taker, his younger brother.
Aaron Nyland.
Aaron Nyland, yeah. I think he's still with Athenry. Yeah. No, that was on yesterday as well. Yeah. I missed that result now. When you're in Dublin, you miss all those things. You can't get the examiner in the morning to see that you're a joke.
Yeah, but see,
I thought you'd be signed up to that now, Dale. That you'd be, on the $5 a month to get all the.
I thought Larry give me a free one. All the work I'm doing for him, but I like to buy it, Mark. I'm traditionalist. On a Monday and on a Saturday, I like to go down, get my cup of coffee at the shop, maybe a little bacon and egg sandwich, very low-fat butter, and my examiner, and take out the sports supplement, sit down, ignore my own piece because I know what I've written, and I like to look at the rest of it. Larry was the back page. Larry was the back page on Saturday, and that's gold entertainment when Larry has the back page all to himself. Great, is good.
But I'm but so you got rid of the Independent. So I remember a couple of years ago, have you left the Independent back into the shop, I think, Claire?
No, they were trying to bury us that time. It was rough enough against Waterford there, and the Independent tried to bury us, But we did. One of the shops in Tulla there, in fairness to them over there, they used to buy one, and that time, of course, you hadn't the phone to look up RIP on Clare, and they just put the debts out in the window of the shop, and that was it. You could go over and check the debts. There's the score here. Is Presentation at 9-19, Rayfields 2-10. So a 3-point win. So a lot of hurling yet to know where the Crow Cup will go. And Flannans are out of it, so it could go anyway. Like normally when Flannans win the Harty, they'll win the All-Ireland. That's the end of that. But Kieran's now Thurles could kick back. Did you ever beat Flannans in the final, Huggy?
We did. 2000. They bet us in 99. They bet us in 99.
Great game in 99 in Thurles, was it?
It was a better one in 2000.
No, I preferred them. Jerry Quinn, Dermot McMahon, Tony Griffin.
Yeah. And they were a serious team. I think was that 3 in a row for them?
I think so. 3 Harties, I think they did.
I think it might have been.
Tony Carmody, Conor Plunkett, all these guys. So, lads, I suppose the most enjoyable game of the weekend, you have to say, was in Parky Heave. The atmosphere was great. Didn't really like the booing of Cian Lynch or Gerard Hagerty or whoever the Cork crowd were booing at the time. Thought that was a bit distasteful and might be used later on in the year by Mr. Kiely and co. Got in late.
I didn't hear that booing at all. No, Dale, if you answered it.
It was loud and clear, Mark, and I was definitely...
I did hear the booing at half time. where John Kiely apologised for his team and he accepted responsibility that it was his fault for the team not being out on time after being allotted 15 minutes. He came out 19 minutes after half time. But maybe it was a bit of frustration, Dalo, that the Limerick team that was put on the programme for the match was, I know it was the All-Ireland final team from last year, that had no resemblance to the team that played on Saturday night. I don't know. I was looking forward because
TJ, you were okay with the programme, were you? Did you hear the booing, TJ?
To be fair to the Cork people, it was kind of more of a jeering stroke booing, and I think myself, I don't think it had anything to do with Cian Lynch. I think no, and I said maybe Mark will be able to shed some light on it. There was 1 or 2 incidents where Garrod was involved in a little bit of kind of jostling and stuff, and not major. Okay. I said everyone getting on with it, and then when Garrod was being taken off, it just sounded like as if they were kind of jeering him, saying good luck. But sure, like everything, Dale, as you say, I'm sure Garrod might have an old welcome back smile from later on in the championship.
Yeah. It wasn't a big deal. It actually was more pronounced, whatever way we were looking at the highlights last night. It come out, and I say whether it was for Cian or Garrod that we prefer not to be booing anyway. But look at TJ looked home and hose, seemed to be the normal stuff. Points flowing over from everywhere, but whatever Pat Ryan said, the hairdryer was out, I'd say, Mark, because there was a marked difference in the display. I thought, I know you had a few wides in the first half, but I thought there was a way more directness to your play in terms of one pass and then feed the forwards and fed it up to Dalton, Huggy, and especially Robbie Flynn was very, very strong on the ball. Hopefully he's all right. I think the initial news is fairly positive. But when you got early ball up there, I felt, and also there's a stat out there that you tackled hooks or blocks 23 times in the first half and 41 in the second half, and that also tells its own tale. So I'd say there was a few straight talking at halftime.
I said, but there was a couple of things, and you mentioned it there, like, Conor Lehane had a good few opportunities to knock the ball over the bar, and it didn't happen for him for one reason or another. Robbie, and he was excellent on Saturday night, had a goal chance in the first half. They probably should have hit the target as well. So even though we were 8 points down at half time, I still thought we were creating a lot of chances. I think other managements may have taken off Conor Lehane in the current situation, but from what we can gather, he's training the lights down at the moment, and his endeavour was fantastic, which it's always something to be complimented. Even though a fella might be converting it, he's on a huge amount of ball, and some managements will take you off because you're not converting it. But I think the management showed a lot of maturity on Saturday night in leaving Conor on and rewarding him for the way his training is going, rewarding for his endeavour, and he pops up with the equalising score at the end of the game. So I suppose it would be worse if the fellow wasn't getting on the ball. So I just think from Conor's point of view, and there was a few other incidents where Cork forwards had an opportunity to take it on another 4 or 5 steps and make sure of the score. And I thought when Cork played it simple, Anthony, they played an awful lot better. There was another incident in the first half where I think a Cork player came on the inside and he had an overlap, a clear overlap, and the overlap player, I think it was Decky Dalton maybe, had 40 yards in front of him. The player elected to go into traffic rather than just giving a simple ball. So you're right in terms of the distribution of the ball, and Kieran Joyce, I suppose, was emphasised that his distribution was excellent, and no different than Aidan O'Brien having a good 2-year-old and training on and improving that to a 3-year-old. Kieran Joyce, when he went in centre back last year, made a huge impression on the Cork team, and he has started off this year in a similar fashion as well. So that's very positive. I think Pat will be really, really thrilled with the likes of Conor O'Callaghan and Owen Downey in the full back line, that he has unearthed 2 lads that maybe are putting their hand up for the championship call later on in the season. And I think that Brian Roach, when he went from half forward out to midfield, was a huge help as well. So there are 3 people that supporters or maybe people on the outside wouldn't be aware of, but they certainly put their hands up on Saturday night to seek inclusion again for next weekend against Galway and maybe later on down the road. So it's all positive. It's positive, but we were concerned at half time. But to be fair to them, and I think Tommy O'Connell kind of set the tone in the second half. He kind of got involved with 2 or 3 Limerick fellas and wasn't going backwards, I suppose, which is important as well. But overall, I said Pat will be thrilled with the result and a lot to work on still.
Yeah, and obviously Galway had a good win away from home as well down, so Salt Hill on Sunday should, be good test for both teams. And same for Limerick. TJ, I suppose Clare coming to town. Clare big win expected, I suppose, at home to Westmeath.
Yeah.
But Limerick, teach the newbies and the old bees, and the old bee that has lifted the Liam McCarthy 4 times anyway was on fire at centre half back. Declan, and him going off maybe kind of sealed the deal. I think he's really pushing forward now and playing with ferocious confidence. Of course, all he has lifted and won would be doing that for you.
Yeah, he is super 50 minutes, as you said, and it was very clear early on that Cork targeted the middle. They tried to kind of pull him all over the place, tried to put puck outs down there, tried to have fellas running in there. That was very clear, but he dealt with it exceptionally well, and he was missed after going on, even though, in fairness to young Kieran Barry, when he came on at right half back there, he played well. But I think to go back to your point about the league, Dalo, I think this is the piece, I suppose, that we don't really fully know, and maybe to be able to give exact judgment of where teams are at. We don't know how hard teams train. Do they train through games? Like who's injured, who's not injured, how much are you resting? Like in fairness to John Kiely, he sent for some of the new players to try and go and win the game, to try and find out about their character and their play. In fairness, young Dalo got a great score when he came on. But like Limerick kind of looked like as if the game was going away from them, and then in fairness they boxed themselves back into 2 points up again. But you have to credit Cork with their finish. The one thing from a Cork point of view that I would have liked would be the centre of their defence. Definitely Owen Downey for me looks like a player that they can do something with. Now whether they show, I suppose, maybe the loyalty to him and stick with the plan there, that's a position that they have to fix. And the other one that's certain that Mark just touched on there for me, like I thought Kieran Joyce for me in the night was man of the match. I thought he was class all the way through. He's covering. He's developing into a real proper Cork number 6. In what the old guys could do, they're brilliant at the backs. To me, he's developing into one of them. Their forwards, I suppose, look, we just remember the most recent, and the second half is what Cork people will remember going away and they'll be happy. Their first half performance, like there's a consistency still required, so I'd say still a good bit to come, and Pat will know that, and he said after the game that they wanted to work on every area. I thought Luke Meade in the middle of the field sets the tone there. His energy, he's running, he's paying, worked exceptionally hard. He does seem to link the play very well, and he got a good score. I think he's a huge plus for them. They still had to get 10 points from Hoggy, like 4 from play, there are definitely more, like even though like their full forward and scored 2-5 in total from play. And the last thing I'd say is the reliance on Robbie O'Flynn. He is the line breaker, and his injury is key as to what happens for Cork going forward. I do think that. I think he is their best forward. I think he's the most dangerous. I think he's really, really active. He scores. His energy, he's running. And like where they had him positioned, I thought Pat was in the corner, but kind of in and out. So they were in between a 2 and a 3-man full forward line. So I think he's key for them. But lots of positives. And again, in fairness to Cork, with UCC playing during the week and a lot of those players having game time, like what is their first team? So still a bit of work to do. But the bottom line is, like I said at the start, Pat will want credit in the bank. He'll want the fans on side. He'll want buy-in from everywhere to say, look, Pat, we believe in you. We know you're heading down the right way. So you'd have to say a real positive start. 2 points, home win, 20,000. Cork people happy and jolly, and plenty of them giving me little remarks going out the gate, Dalo. You know yourself, the Cork swagginess goes on the way back, like.
Yeah. And Liverpool struggling.
Oh yeah, I went to the game with my brother Davey, and we were actually just what Mark touched on there a while ago, and like he got he's a very good a fellow who works for him, fellow from Tipperary, Joy, and he said Saturday was the most perfect day of sport. That's what he said, watching it all day. He was there. Tip won, Ireland won, United won, right? And then he had exactly Liverpool bet, England bet, Limerick bet.
All politics are local. Yeah, good start for you, Mark. I have a little one of those tenor accumulators done, which includes, like, say, UL winning the Fitzgibbon, but Cork to top that division was one of the ones I put in at 7-2. Along with now, I need about I need Manchester City to win the Champions League and all, like, you know, so don't worry, it won't be all down to you. But I was kind of happy that you got that start anyway.
Next Sunday now, all of a sudden becomes a critical game, right? Because Galway were really impressive over the weekend. And just judging by the mood and listening to people after the match, there is a feeling that the Cork crowd will travel to Galway for the weekend. And I met a good few people actually yesterday that were at the racing in Dublin as well, delighted with the victory. And you know, they said there's a touch of 99 about it again. Young lads coming, new management, and a bit of freshness, a bit of a breath of fresh air around the place. And remember, Cork didn't have, we say, Harnedy, Jack O'Connor, Conor Cahalan, Brian Hayes made an entrance, Shane Kingston made an entrance. There's a good few lads still, you know, on the outside. And I'd say if Cork could get some sort of a real result next weekend, and then there will be more artillery. They'll be farther down the road with the Fitzgibbon and stuff like that. More players will be coming back to them through injuries or through college. It then feels like that you have this panel of players that you need for the championship. And I think Henry touched on it over the weekend as well by saying, you know, it's about the panel and the strength and depth of your team. And I think that's what Cork are trying to get at the moment. A good, strong bench with 26 maybe plus fellas that you can count on. And I think the result next week, I think they should probably go for it again next week and try their best to try and win it, you know.
I would disagree with you, Mark. I would say Pat's more interested in getting a good, consistent 15, and I'd say finding his central players for day in, day out and getting consistency there. Like everyone knows there's loads of hurlers in Cork, so I think the 26 will work itself out. I think finding a consistent 15 to go to war with, as I said, in a full-back, in a centre-back, in a centre-forward. Like, it will be interesting next week without Robbie O'Flynn, because as I said, we thought basically he kept them in the game, and definitely his goal there, as I said, at the start of the second half, it was kind of him who ignited the fight back. Like, so it'll be interesting to see without him as to how they go. But I think there'll be more drive to get the unit of forwards right.
Hoagie, are you getting a touch of 99 off it, Hoagie, with the Cork lads?
Oh God, don't remind me of that. Yeah, miserable piss and rain day watching that shambles. But no, look, the boys made a couple of good points. It was the first thing TJ mentioned. It's very hard to pull anything really from first round of the championship or first round of the league, because you have no idea in terms of the training programs what way lads, you know, some lads they look leggy or whatever. But I suppose what you are looking for is kind of and you mentioned consistency there a couple of times. The consistency in terms of the attitude. Lahan, you mentioned Marco. You know, I thought it was great that Pat Ryan left him in and let him work into it, because look, the best will in the world, it's February. You know, your touch is not going to be what it is in June, and we know the way Lahan can hurl, and as the ground gets harder, what he's capable of. But hauling him off with 20-25 minutes to go in a match does no favours to him. Giving him the confidence to say, we're backing you, you're in there, you can work your way through the match, and at the end, popping up for that equalising point is a great kind of vote of confidence. The other thing that jumped out to me was it last year or the year before, we were discussing the Cork central defence, and you went through 3 different full backs during the course of the year. I think you played Kilkenny down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, and then you changed, probably was young Downey, Rob Downey after it, rather than kind of saying, well, look, we're going to back you for a couple, we're going to give you the opportunity to bounce back. And then by the time the championship came around, they were still none the wiser who their actual best choice full back was. Now, this young lad looks like a serious guy, and then in front of him with Joyce, I mean, you have the benchmark in Hannon on one side. He's been the archetypal centre back for the last 7-8 years. That's who everyone is trying to get to if you're a number 6. And then you've got the incumbents, you know, in Waiton and in Joyce at the other side, who, you know, Mark, you know better knows, but haven't seen him in the under 20s and that coming through with a reputation. I mean, Jesus, he looked serious there. What I loved most, the point he got was outstanding. And the fact he won the ball, laid it off, and looked for a return pass. But that block that he got out over the sideline, like, I haven't seen too many. I don't mean this you know, like the intent he went. He wasn't just sticking the hurl up and hope. He went with the intent of, I'm going to block this ball, and if I can get a bit of a man as well and drive him out over the line, all the better. And there's that consistency piece for Cork. Like, the first half was, you know, oh God, you know, is this kind of a bit of what we saw the previous year, sort of up and down? The second half was much more like what you'd expect from a Pat Ryan team, having seen what he did with the under-20s and that. The next day now, whether they win or lose against Galway, let's bring that kind of consistency in terms of, attitude. Go up the Salt Hill and really kind of give it, put in the performance. It might come out the right side or wrong side, but I think he's looking for that kind of endeavour from the lads. And you said it, Matt. You get that by having a kind of consistency up the centre, kind of giving lads their opportunity and kind of letting them drive it on.
You said it, Mark, as well, with that Tommy O'Connell bit of aggression at the start of the second half, and that probably leads to the 41 tackles instead of 23, and that has to be there from the get-go. Albeit, look, we're talking about the first round of the league. It's the Munster round robin is going to be where it's all at. But finding so that when you take on that first game in the round robin, and you be able to have a look at everyone in the first round, that 13, 14 your team that previous week, just maybe one internal challenge match maybe to decide the last spot. That's really what we're all after, aren't they, for our own counties, that we know our team. I even look at Clare yesterday, two huge things back for Clare yesterday is Mark Rogers, 2-2, we are, as I said last week, I think that people don't know him around the country. You'd know him because you follow it, but he's really a potential star. And having Aidan McCarthy back, hitting 5 frees and 5 from play, really is Aidan a kind of a wall fell on Aidan last year at work. He was lucky he wasn't more seriously injured, but broke his leg and never quite got back. I think maybe got onto a couple of the 26s. So for me, that is again that we know 5 or 6 forwards going into that tip game, and we can rely on them. And can we get John Conlon back? I think it's the big thing for us, a big win there. Hoagie, you'd probably been turning the couch watching TG Cahir. Your Irish, of course, is top class from your time in Kieran's. And it was a bit of the... I watched it yesterday. I got up to RT yesterday and sat down and watched it. Charlie Guckin was the big find for Nevena there for Wexford. They need to find 2 or 3, as we saw against Clare last year when they got a few injuries. Still very frustrating in that they completely dominated the play in the first half and in level. And even at that, Mark Fanning, who's probably the best in the country at doing it, had to make a brilliant save from Evan Nyland from a penalty. But, Jesus, some of the shot choices, the free take, and it's just so frustrating if you're a Wexford season ticket holder and go to the away games, isn't it? And then look, Darrell will be more aware of this than anyone. Niall Cochran, I think, even said it at half time. I think they had a 43% conversion rate. I mean, you go nowhere unless you're mid to high 60s and maybe touching the 70s. So it's been a common thread with them. And then, of course, Galway, once they got the little wind and got the noses in front, they kicked on then like a team who have the confidence starting to really build behind them, I think. But for Wexford, it's frustrating. Yeah. Now, look, at this time last year, he won every single league game in the round. Maybe he's not too worried about the league at all, and he's just trying to get his team. But free taking and shooting when the right time is to shoot is something. Free taking anyway. If you don't have a 9 out of 10 free taker, you look at TJ, look at Hoggy, look at Gillan, look at Nyland. Clare have a little bit of a problem with it as well, whether it's Tony, whether it's Peter Duggan, whether it's Aidan McCarthy now. But you need that going into Championship.
Well, I'm just going to completely contradict myself now, because I said in the last piece about looking for that consistency and attitude, and you're at this time of year you're going to drop balls short, or your execution skills might be as good as they might be in a couple of months' time. However, in Wexford's case, to be fair to them, their attitude is usually top notch. You go down to Wexford Park and you're always in for a battle. But you mentioned it, that consistency in terms of converting the scores, or converting the chances, whether it's bad shot selection or poor execution, has been something that has been probably a consistent trend over the last few years, and it's probably just held them back a little bit from getting to where they want to get to. And that free taker as well. I mean, 15 points, I think it was the second lowest scoring tally at the weekend. I think the only ones lower were Westmeath. So, that's and at home as well. I think even Antrim, playing in horrendous conditions up in Corrigan Park, were able to tally an equal score of 15 points. So it is a concern. 10 wides at half time. You're playing at home. The manner of some of the wides, you went through. I think did it go through 2 or 3 different free takers?
2, like
it is a problem.
First, Conor McDonald only missed 1, right? Now I don't.
Yeah,
be a big fan of I'm a big fan of Conor McDonald. Right? I wouldn't be a big fan of the way he hit that free. He threw it up so high. It was nearly like a rounder shot when he was sitting on the way down, and went wide on his near post. And the next one was a 65, and D. O'Keefe was straight over to his.
Yeah, but what does it say? What does it say to Conor? Like if he misses one and you're switching,
you're back taking him in for a finish and scored a few.
What's that?
You went back taking him in for a finish and scored a few.
Which I don't get. Like I do say like. It's one of those. I always feel, look, if you're going to give the guy, and he's not a young lad, he's a mature hurler. He's a fantastic hurler. He's been leading the line for Wexford. I'm a big fan of him as well. He had a great battle with Garrod back in Ernie. But like that, if you're backing him to be the free taker, you kind of have to back him. And especially missing one, albeit it was a poor free. I mean, switching D. O'Keefe onto it and then switching him back, it just it smacks of a bit of kind of. Uncertainty from whether it's from the line or from the players themselves. I'd imagine it came from the line to switch to the frees, and that is a concern because, even with Lee Chin, again, phenomenal player, outstanding for the last decade for Wexford. I think it's fair to say he wouldn't be in the same caliber as Hoggy or TJ or any of the top tier free takers, So that as a first point, and then I suppose the manner of the wides is another concern for Wexford. I think that's their area of development. I don't think they'll ever be, lacking kind of in terms of intensity or in terms of endeavour. It's just on that side of it. And you mentioned McGuckie, and if they can get 1 or 2 more guys who are just who can keep the scoreboard ticking over at times, and make it. You look at Hoggy. Okay, we're picking an archetype. Like the other night, he's so efficient. If you can get that ball in early, a diagonal ball into him, he is so efficient at getting the ball, one touch in the hands. Is there a better player with his back to goal putting the ball over the bar? But he just keeps the momentum going there. For when maybe your backs are to the wall. So it is a concern. On the other side for Galway, I suppose it's a different piece for Henry. He's a bit like maybe Cork. He's looking for getting that consistency in terms of performance. We've always said that they have no shortage of firepower. You see young O'Shea up there, and the other, and Nyland, who Mark has referenced a couple of times, leading the line centre forward. Did what he had to do in terms of his frees, and was busy from playing. Concannon came on. I thought he was very, very impressive when he came on. Jason Flynn, I know he scuffed that chance for a goal, but look, again, this time of year, that can happen. But it's that consistency in terms of be in the game the whole time. Don't drift out of the game for 15, 20 minutes, which sometimes Galway can do. And then obviously, as Henry's mentioned, having that kind of strength and depth, which is what he's looking for over the course of the league. So I think anytime you go down to Wexford Park, you get a win like that. Henry will be happy overall, 8-point win back up to Salt Hill, while, constantly focused a bit like Cork on that kind of consistency in terms of performance, which makes the next game even all the more interesting.
Yeah, and TJ, he has a lot of them won himself, I presume, World Cups, Henry. You probably didn't play in him, Hoagie, did he? But he doubled up as the World Cup final, I suppose, and it was a good start for them, wasn't it? There was a lot to like. I thought Darren Marcy, an outstanding game. As Hoagie alluded to, Jason Flynn was, if he got a bit more ball, I felt earlier on he looked really threatening to do damage. Tom Monahan good, Sean Lane good. They threw over the scores really well. All their subs made a difference. His name just eludes me now at the minute. The second fella that came on, youngish lad, he came on instead of Eamon O'Shea's son there. He got 2 points, one off the crossbar.
Liam Collins.
Yeah, young Collins. Liam Collins, yeah. Where's he from, TJ? What club is he?
Is he Captagal, is he?
Could be, yeah. He looks lively now. He looked really lively. They'll be happy,
They will be happy for sure, and like any time that there's silverware available for collection, teams want to win it. And I think if Galway look back in last season, like between maybe the Leinster Championship, which they thought they were in good position for, when they didn't put some bit of silverware on the table at the end of the year, they'd be disappointed with that. Walsh Cup won't satisfy the fans, but look, it's a step in the right direction. Going to Wexford is not easy, and to come out of there with an 8-point win, impressive in the finish, they'll be very happy with that. But look, I suppose, it's probably all back to what we're saying the whole time about the league. We don't remember the first round of the league from last year. Limerick didn't have a great league last year, and we were questioning where they were at. And there's all we've touched on these training blocks, and just 5 games in 7 weeks. And what they're looking for is basically the team to be playing well. And just what Hogan said there about things like, there's a big difference between let's say a poor finish and just shot selection all wrong. At least if you're doing the right things, it'll come right eventually if you work on those things. But if you've got poor shot selection, that's a bit more difficult to fix. So that's important for the team. But for Galway to go down there, shoot 23 points. I think they used it now as a bit of a training weekend as well. And the Thomas's boys are back in the group this week. So, there'll be a pep in their step. And I think even for young fellas to get into a team that's winning and get into a line that's going well. And Mark, you commented on even the Limerick team, the way they kind of had, let's say, a trial maybe in each line. So I say much easier maybe to get a feel for a player when you've got good players playing around him. Now you can see it's kind of real as to see how you get on, rather than throwing in a full line of fellas. It's hard to know because you want the fellas to be winning beside you. John will want to find out whether this fella's up to it or not, and the same for all the managers. And without doubt, Galway heading in the right direction. And I suppose they'll probably feel, or maybe there's a general feel out there that they might be very well positioned, given the semi-final last year, I suppose maybe to be real serious contenders, to have a go at Limerick from their point of view. And that's what Henry's building, there's no doubt about that. On the Munster side of it, all the conversations we have with people, even yesterday, the last couple of days, is just asking people heading into Championship, what you want to find out through the league about your team, whether you're Clare, Waterford, Tipperary, Cork, what you want to find out. Like, there's a ranking there now trying to get into the top 3. It's going to be a big challenge. And when we have conversations about Tipper going well or Cork going well, and when you kind of say, right, you nail your colours to the mast and name the top 3 that are going to come out of Munster, all of a sudden people start tutting and they're just slow to nail their colours to the mast because it's so competitive. So, the Tipperary boys that myself and Marco met yesterday, there was a bit of pep in their step, and they had an in there because I said one of them was the son of one of the selectors from Clouty, TJ Ryan. He said they're working extremely hard, they're training hard, and there's a bit of a solid look appearing about this Tip backline all of a sudden. I know, Dalo, you touched on it. Mikey Breen, if he slots into that full back position, that's a massive plus for them. It's a position filled. If Owen Downey becomes a solid number 3 for Cork, that's a huge problem solved for them over the last couple of years. And I suppose then what follows on then is, if for teams that are successful, that win Munster Championships, Leinster Championships, or All-Ireland titles, is what Hogan said there. They have a settled 3, they have a settled 6 and a settled centre, and they're building around it. And that's what we're trying to find out in the league, and that's what every manager is trying to find out.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I suppose the big game of yesterday, lads, we probably expected the Clare would come out on top at home against Westmeath. The big one was in Fairfield. It was an exhibition, a penalty taken, and we had a couple of red cards. We had a bit of everything. We'd won 5 to no score after 16 minutes. It looked like the Dubs were in for it. But Micheál Donoghue, I think, will be thrilled, Mark, even though I think from Cian Boland's interview afterwards, he was saying, well, when they're down to 13, we probably felt we should have kicked on and won it. But Davy unleashed a heavy artillery from the sideline in Austin and Desi and Jack Prendergast, and they all contributed as he took over the freeze when Stephen Bennett went off. I don't think they could complain too much about. Well, they couldn't complain anything about the first one. Jack Fagan was on a yellow, and he just rugby tackled and had to go. Second one, it was a bit of a schmozzle. He flicked his hand all right, Stephen Bennett. The point now in punching a helmet is, we all know, is a bit silly. All you'll get is a sore hand. It was more of a backhand. More of a backhand punch. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't a punch, like it just kind of a shove away more than anything, like. And
I suppose letter the law, he had to go maybe.
But I don't think it was helped by the fact that the Dublin player went down. Right? Now, I'm not saying he dived, right, or took a dive, right? He did go down. If he stayed standing, I think it might have been slightly different, because it was more a push off than a kind of a punch, like, or a deliberate punch. And he didn't even, he punched him more in the neck or the high chest area rather than into the face or anything like that. But it was something, and that, all players need to mind themselves. That's the reality. You're there on the sideline, you're in front of the managements, and more than likely the linesman is going to be there. So I thought it was a bit of, it was silly out of Stephen, to be honest. But he's a very experienced player, and he shouldn't be getting drawn into that kind of stuff. And but like the first round of the league, Anthony, you're training there for probably 8 or 10 weeks, and everybody's busting. They're like young calves coming out for the first day into the grass. They're running and bucking and jumping all over the place. And when you have a player like Stephen who's critical to Waterford's success, he needs to mind himself. And that applies to the Aussies and the Burkas and the Jamie Barnes and all. They are critical players, as there's always marquee players in every team, but their discipline needs to be of the top class. And that is one thing. I would be surprised what I saw yesterday about the 2 sendings off, because, you go back to Gleeson last year, getting sent off. That should be something that should be in Waterford's DNA this year. When we're in winning positions, we don't lose our discipline. And I'm a good fan of Waterford, to be fair, and I have been for the last 3 or 4 years. I think they're quality players, but sometimes their discipline lets them down. And yesterday, I have no doubt that they were in a winning position. They struck out, as you mentioned, 1-5 score up. They started like a bat out of hell, and then lost their way for a bit. But then they got back into it again and were in total control, and then lost their way again. So I suppose from that point of view, that's a lot to, and then you could see a little bit of frustration on the television last night coming from the management as well, giving out about this decision and that decision. And that's sometimes when your manager is jumping around the place, giving out to the linesman or giving out to the referee, that does flow onto the players as well. And I think, part of that discipline, that they need to be very careful, that if they have, and they can keep 15 players on the field at all time, Waterford is as good as any team that are out there. On their given day, they can beat anybody. They have quality all over the place. But discipline left them down yesterday. That's the reality. And, I suppose, to be fair, 3 penalties as well, and 2 on one side and 1 on the other side. So, in fairness to the referees, it isn't getting any easier for the referees either. But Colm Lyons made the call, I think, yesterday. Possibly, I think it's probably the correct decision. But on another occasion, I think if the Dublin player actually stayed standing, Anthony, the possibility he wouldn't have been sent off.
Yeah,
I thought it was Liam Gordon referee that Dalo, was it?
It was Liam, but Colm was doing the line over there. I think that's the point.
Yeah. But Dalo, I didn't see the game. What, in terms of formation and setups, what way did both? Were they 15? Were they kind of pushing up, or was it defensive?
It was a bit defensive both ways.
Right.
It wasn't overly negative either. Now, I think Waterford sort of used Mike Kiely as the target man, and was effective, was taken down for both penalties. He's a big boy, playing well for UL. Stephen Bennett sort of dropped off a bit. Of course, by the time Desi came on, then he had to come out the field because we were down to 13. He had to come out and forage for ball, but he did that superbly. Yeah. And Jack Prendergast hit a magnificent score that looked like it had it won from both Dublin. To be fair to them, Keane Boland was outstanding and played kind of inside, outside, drifted, won the ball for the penalty. Brilliant catch up between Conor Prunty and Calum Lyons, and just got hung in the air and caught the ball and had to be taken down then. 2 boys probably should have communicated better with each other, the Waterford lads, for one of them to stay down and one to go high and hard. But Alex Considine as well now from Cork, so has been he had to go off injured, so I hope that's not serious. But he had a great game. He's a massive man and looks really fit at the moment, and was out in front. And it's so hard then when he's out in front because he's so big that and he's great hands to go with it and has pace. So Micheál, we did a little piece on it last night, myself and Jackie, that he Russia's gone, Crummie's gone, Keane O'Callaghan's gone. He needs new fellas to step up, and none of the 3 of those. Keane O'Sullivan got 2 fantastic goals. None of those 3 guys, will say, Keane Boland, Considine and O'Sullivan, are new lads, but they wouldn't be regarded as leaders of that team. That's what Micheál will be going back up to Dublin last night. Pretty happy with that. a few new lads took it on. And I'd say going down there yesterday, he thought this might be a tough day at the office. I'm down a lot. He didn't have any Sutcliffe. James Madden didn't start. So they were down maybe a few more as well as what are gone from the panel. So if you told him he'd get a draw on Fratherfield, I'd say he'd be delighted with you. So, and I'd say, in fairness to Davy, when they were down to 13, he probably had taken a draw as well at that stage because they were limited in what they could leave up the field. But it's an interesting contest. I do think, come Championship, that Waterford will be a much better team in Semple Stadium. I honestly do think. I think the Calum Lyonses and the runners they have, the Fagans coming from deep, midfield, the Dalys, Jack Prender, Ozzy, Desi, they all want space. They love space. And I think they'll thrive in Thurles as regards the difference between the old Walsh Park, obviously, is a big job going to be done there now, and Dungarvan. I think Thurles will suit them way better, and they're guaranteed 3 games there as well in the round robin, so I think that will suit down to the ground. But yeah, overall, I'd say they'd both gone home happy enough. So Davy wasn't too happy with the second sending off, but sure, look, it was a call, a linesman's call, I suppose, and Cullen made the call that he did strike out, and you can't really complain about that. Mark did say, that maybe the double did make a bit more of it than he should have. So, but that's the reality of it. Tip looks solid. Watched that as well yesterday morning inside. A worry for them. Gerard O'Connor was outstanding on the frees and has been playing really well in colleges as well. He got 11 points. Jake Morris won 2. And the big one for me, again, injury. He had to go off 7 minutes into the second, or 3 minutes into the second. That Conor Stakelum, he's really stepping up to being one of the better young midfielders in the country now. He had 3 points in play scored. They'd be better than Laois, in fairness. Ironically, 2 club mates meeting each other on the line. 2 Ballingarry men, Liam and Willie. But Tip, obviously, Liam having him very well disciplined, very much tuned in, and ironically, I believe a contender for man of the match at full forward would be the man that would drag you back from the cliffs of Moher, according to Ken Hogan last Friday or last Thursday, would be the Bonner. He was exceptional, seemingly. I was talking to a couple of people, and he won an off at a ball and laid off. Great ball. So bubbling up nicely after week 1, lads.
Yeah, big. But I suppose the big thing from Tip's thing there, Dalo, is that 57 shots at goal. Ended up scoring 232. They had a 60% conversion ratio. Like, they are definitely, up and running under Liam Cahill, and we saw it in the Munster Senior League final. They possibly were the better team over the hour against Cork on that occasion, and didn't get the job done. But a great way to get back up and running with a new management, and possibly we said from the supporters' point of view that probably had turned against the team and the management last year. That this is probably a new beginning for them again now, that they get the supporters back on side. And Ken made that point last week to us, that the supporters need to get back in behind the team now. And I said, to be fair to Cahill and Mikey Bevins and the backroom staff, they're going to get the max out of that panel of players. And I'd say great to see Bonner Mayer, in fairness. He's had a huge amount of injuries and keep going. And he's a credit to anybody who's got the amount of injuries that he has got. But great credit to the management as well for keeping him involved, because fellas like him around the panel are worth their weight in gold. And, when he can give good advice to younger lads, I have no doubt, and like all the young lads are looking for is some praise along the way. And having an experienced player like Bonner Mayer is critical in your panel.
Yeah, I think having played against him a few times, Dalo, I think it's incredible that he's, with the injuries he's had, etc. I often thought he was underrated in terms of, I suppose maybe some of the sharpshooters that were around him, the likes of Noah McGrath and Corbett and a few of the lads took the light, and Callan. But he's a fierce, intelligent player. I think you don't achieve what he's achieved and last as long as he's lasted without having a serious game intelligence as well. He does an awful lot of the hard yards, and he loves it. He loves the hardship, but he's a very intelligent player. He's used to the ball when he does win it. You rarely waste the ball. Whether he's taking a score, you're talking about shot selections or the right decisions when you have the ball. He's and Marcus mentions, I don't know him personally per se. I know Paul Murphy would be good friends with him through the army, and would speak very highly of him as a person, So those kind of guys, they're real leaders, quiet but lead by their actions. He's a great guy to have around the camp. And we kind of mentioned as well, with some of the other teams, the way Cal now is trying to get the spine of his team. If Breen does settle into that full back position, he'll be a massive addition, to Tip in terms of it frees Ronan Maher then to move back out to centre back, and he's a phenomenal player as well. And then you're building all of a sudden. Then you're building around the spine, So it's it's interesting, from a Tip perspective. Again, first match, we could be back here next week, and we could be rewriting everything we're after saying. But 232 in February is a fair score to rack up, no matter who you're, what the conditions or who you're playing against.
Yeah, and the three McGraths all starting as well. Great to see John back, and as Ken alluded to, Brian, I think had a good Munster League, and he was the other wing back there, and I really like Brian O'Mara, I have to say, the other wing. So yeah, starting to look like a structure. Obviously didn't even need to play Jason Ford, who'll be, the probably main score getter up there, such as the form of O'Connor on the freeze. So bubbling up nicely there. And we look forward. TJ, who have you next week? Can you see we get you off the bottom there?
Saturday night in the Gaelic grounds, another Saturday night. Limerick and Clare. What I was going to say to you there before we moved away from Tip, or maybe Hoagie, like what do you think the Tip fans will be looking for in 2023? What's a realistic expectation for them? Like the transition piece is thrown out there, but they have an awful lot of players. An awful lot of players who've been around a while, they've won All Ireland recently. So I like obviously Liam Cahill will be thinking that these boys are contenders. Like, do you think that Tip can make the top three?
You're asking me what the Tip fans are looking for.
I'm saying realistically.
They're a demanding bunch, as I suppose most fans are, and certainly Kilkenny fans are. I think Tip will be looking to get into that top three and get into the kind of the latter stages of the All Ireland. I don't think for a county like Tip, whether it's you can argue whether it's realistic or what, but I don't think it's acceptable, from a fan's perspective, to not expect to see Tipperary in the kind of the latter stages of the championship. And to Dalo's point earlier on, that, or maybe it was your point, TJ, that throws up the conversation about the Munster Championship and pick your top three, because who's going to lose out? But that's the reality of it. Like Tip,
they come tennis in the very first one, and for me, it's nearly pivotal enough game. Like the losers of that, lads, will find it hard to pick up.
That's a ferocious game.
The winners of that will be in a fair old position. Do you know? You will be getting 2 points on, and that game is gone, and they have nothing. And Ennis can be hard enough to come to, but they'll come good and tough. It'll be a fair battle that day.
Yeah, you're understating that now by saying it can be a tough place to go. Like, I mean, Jesus, then it's like the best of times, and we've experienced it only on 1 or 2 occasions. But yeah, like Tip coming down there, that's a ferocious game. And I mean, we've talked, like Clare have a pretty settled group now, and with Lohan there, and obviously John Conlon is the big one to get him back and anchoring that defence. But you're looking to kind of layer on top almost, with the likes of Mark Rogers and a few more of these guys coming back in, McCarthy. But there is a settled look to that Clare team, and it's again, it's who you counting out. But Jesus, I think Clare are going to have a big say this year. I think that even the way the last year finished, I've no doubt as a group of players, I'm sure they feel they didn't do themselves justice with the manner of the performance against Kilkenny, because that wasn't, to be fair, that wasn't what they're capable of.
Probably left it all in the Munster final, Hoagie, because they were really lucky against Wexford as well in quarter. Only really played for 10 minutes, and Wexford got a few injuries. So yeah, we are excited. Like, I don't want to be talking them up too much now. They'll shoot me. The Lohan on the blower now on my way down to Powerstown Park, and I have to go in the main gate this year now, TJ. Which is like if you're going in the lodge gate, as they call it, TJ. Do you know what that means, TJ?
Yeah,
lodge gate. Young runner. I have to go in past the protesters, Holly Kearns, the TD, and a few of them. Shame on you for what you do. We're doing it all our lives, and our fathers before us, Holly. The hound in the hair. The hound in the hair. But, yeah. As Division 2A, just a touch. Go on.
He put up some score over the weekend, 427.
Yeah, they did.
That's the biggest.
They did, and a great spread of scoring as well. And yeah, great spread. Westmeath will find their away games tough going. There's no doubt about that. And it's Joe's second year now as well. So we all know it can be that bit tougher in the second year, can't it, for the manager?
Oh, yeah.
Going
Absolutely.
in. Yeah, he'll just have to target. He's in the other group. Willie Marr will be saying, I think they're at home tantrum. Joe, can we win that one? And then we're going to be in Division 1 again. And obviously Willie is back into Joe McDonough as well. So that'll be his main focus for the year. But for Westmeath, the group is all tough matches, really, isn't it? It's Wexford,
matches, yeah.
Galway, Cork, Limerick, Clare. It's tough going on, Joe. And they can only hope that when they get matches back in Mullingar, that they'll really, as they showed last year, even the Leinster Championship against Wexford, that they pulled off a massive result. And it's all about consolidating their place in the Leinster. If they can stay in the Leinster Championship again, stay in Division 1, which won't be easy. It'll probably come down to a playoff game, and it's tough. But Clare looked good. I think Carl Malone back in the full of his strength as well, who, was injured, missed the whole club season with the Bridge. There's a lot coming right. Adam Hogan, who you're sick of hearing me raving about, seemingly very solid now. He might have been up against, we'll know more about him, I suppose, after the Gaelic grounds. So I think, that's a real mouthwater on one Saturday. Huge crowd, I expect. And because it's easy, very easy venue. It's nearly an easier venue for the Clare fans than the Limerick fans, TJ, in that space to get into. So, yeah, I'm on duty as well for that. So really looking forward to that now and having a bit of a hop off Dowling along the way. But he get cocky very quick if he goes ahead, especially if he wins. just to touch, lads. Division 2A, we'll have a look. Good games. It looks like real eye-catching one is Carlow 11 points, Kildare 25 points. Kildare maybe potentially could be the next team to make a break. Could they? Like, we'd see what Naas done last year, and Naas up competing in the Leinster Senior Club this year and quitting themselves very well. And if they can build on that, they look to have a lot of players, lads, and coming through steady every year. And with the influence of all the Stapletons up there, TJ, they'll be happy things are going well. And they had to dip down into the Christie Ring, but bounced straight back easily. And we'll be eyeing promotion. I think, realistically. Kerry, very good win up in Derry. Kerry really thereabouts last few years. And Offaly, crucially, that was a big one for Johnny Kelly, winning up in Down. Kildare, TJ, there's real potential there, isn't there? There's a lot of people there, of course.
There is huge numbers and a big focus on the underage hurling there, and like anybody involved with teams now underage, especially in the Fela group there, they'll know that those Kildare teams are very strong and well able to hold their own. Like, so, underage last year they had a good win at minor. Owen's involved with the actual under-20s in Kildare this year, and they're trying to claim scalps all the time. And they're definitely gaining ground and gaining momentum. And I suppose maybe for them to get into maybe a potential Division 1 would be just great kind of, I suppose, profile for Kildare hurling. But yeah, to go and do that yesterday, perfect start, scored 25 points. But definitely from a numbers point of view, with the work that's going in underage, they're nicely poised to be the next team, to make an impact into the bigger stage of hurling.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to get another county like that up competing in the Leinster title race. It's a bit away yet, obviously. We're aware of that. I think, but that's going to be a very, very competitive division, and Kildare making a big statement, Kerry making a big statement, and Ufalia. I think that's because Down and themselves have had a few ding-dong battles, went to penalties and all there, I think, in the Christie Ring or the Jonathan a couple of years ago. So, yeah. But one other shout-out, lads, before we go to a few fogres and that. Massive night for Tyrone hurling, lads. The first night they've lined out in over 10 years, I think, without the great Damien Casey. And they played London in Onrua as, I think, a mark of respect as well, and came out with the win. From exchanging a few messages with a few of them, they're saying that, it was one of the most emotional nights they've seen up there, certainly since the funeral. And huge shout out to them. And I suppose the show must go on. That's what the Casey family would want. And a poignant night, I think, and well done to everybody there. And while we're on Rua, I suppose there's a bit of fantasy stuff. Hoagie, you've decided to step back until the league is over this year, have you? You're looking at the various strategies and upset.
I'm carrying an injury, Dalo. I wasn't fit for selection, so.
As Jack Maloney used to say in Clarecastle, he's a bit of a grind strain, lads.
Hoagie, it's only a tenner, Hoagie.
I see Landers turning up straight away. I thought he was going to sleep there. Well, Mark, welcome back.
Yeah, the top of the table is looking. Larry's cute enough, of course. He's only slightly ahead of the two boys now in TJ and Liam. But I think he picked all the fellas that you could pick from Clare and Tip and all that were going to get a load of scores. Whereas myself and Marco, they are playing the long game. Shane McGrath, disappointing result because there's a man that would be. I was watching him on Twitter. He was up for it, and there's always a Cork lad down the bottom. And Shawnee didn't enter the league either. He's saving himself for the championship. So Owen, in fairness, team is down bottom of the table there on 148 points. I don't know who he picked. He must have put in the team about 3 weeks ago. He'd Aaron Gillan taking the freeze for him, I think. So, look, well done to Butler Hurleys as well. I know the lads on the Premier View are promoting that they have a jersey to give out. Butler Hurleys give us way more than a jersey, lads. They're top class. Our Listeners League, Morris Hayes, Hip and Whip from Ballysteen in Limerick. 293 savage score. Peter Casey, EPO, down as in a Steinman. I have a feeling that's Peter Casey, hurling coach supreme. Would be top man, I'd say, all that stuff, and sings a song called EPO, which is, if you ever get a chance to Google Peter Casey EPO, lads, you will get some laugh about he won Ireland's fittest families 6 years in a row, and then they put him off the EPO and everything went. The wife left him and Halle Berry left him and all sorts. It's brilliant. Have a look at it if you get a chance. Damien Keehan from Fedamore, so Limerick doing well up there, and always Garrod O'Grady is always in the top 10 from Shannon Gales, my own adopted club down in West Clare. I don't see any of the Clarecastle lads up there, but I know I had a quick look at the Clarecastle division. Higgy is ahead, lads. That's the bad news. I'm second, but Higgy's ahead. He's gone to Malta for a week holding hands with ourselves. So I might escape him for a week, but I'd say, today he'll be throwing the sunbed somewhere listening to this. Higgy's ahead, lads. I've changes to make. I can't make him I need Billy Drennan to get about 6-8 next week and not get sent off, Mark. Your captain getting sent off is a disaster, like, isn't it?
Well,
Stevie Bennett, come on, man. Stay on the field of play. That's what we need. Well, look, hopefully now. I'm up there anyway, Dalo, and the same tactics as last year. Once I finish in front of you, I'll be happy enough.
You don't get that bit, Marco. I was delighted to see you lifting Liam McCarthy the year you got the lifters, and you'd always have a wish for you there. But you seem to just, whatever's in it, like, and Clare and Cork have no real bitter rivalry. Like, you never boo really a Clare player when he's coming on or going off the field now that you do with Limerick. Limerick are your new Tipperary now, really, in Cork, aren't they?
I tell you now, we'll next Sunday now is a critical game in Salt Hill, and I think there'll be a nice crowd travel. TJ, will you be able to get in? Will Big Barry be there? Will you be holding hands in the stand?
Everything. In fairness to the Galway people, they always look after me. I can get in there, no bother. But I will be first of all looking forward to Limerick and Clare on Saturday night. I suppose the challenge, like outside of the fantasy, we'll be all waiting for teams because we can transfer again during the week. And for you, now that Stephen Bennett got a red card, he misses next week. So do you stick or twist with him because he'll be missing and there's no change in for a month?
I presume they won't. Will they try and get him rescinded?
No changes this week.
Yeah, there's change. Jesus, you let the cat out of the bag. Well, come here.
You can change.
Is there anyone? We need to tell Keds that Jason Ford wasn't playing over the weekend. He has a minute centre forward.
Yeah, but there'll be loads of changes. And I suppose that's the challenge for all the managers, Dalo, is that this week coming they'll be assessing injuries. The Fitzgibbon Cup quarterfinals are hotting up. They'll be trying to manage training with game time, with players playing with different teams. So you could see a good few changes. So it's kind of a balancing act between, especially for those emerging teams trying to get to where they want to get to. Like, you want to have a solid center line where you know these guys are going to be my key men into the summer, but you also want to make sure that you give your guys in the panel a game, so to keep training interesting. And everyone wants to play. At the end of the day, everyone wants to play.
So we're expecting to see everyone you can think of: Kyle Hayes, Dermot Burns, Nicky Quaid, and everyone Saturday night, I suppose, put us back in our box and send us out the road.
I would like to think so. Especially at home and in these games competitively, that we like to win and we like to keep on top and like to keep beating you guys. So, yeah, I think Limerick will have some of the other players. Like, I suppose from Limerick point of view, getting Cian Lynch back in the field after, was it the Waterford game last year? Was that nearly the end of April? Like, so he missed all the club campaigns. So it's a lot of time not to be on the field. So to have him back,
you want to cut his hair too, wouldn't he?
No, he's fine. He's such a Keane has that flair, it suits him. So, like, having him and Peter Casey back again for the summer ahead. And you know what? Injury is going to be a key part of it. Like we saw there with Cork, Robbie O'Flynn flying it. Next thing goes over an ankle and he could miss the rest of the league. Like, so, like, himself and Shawnee Finn both honestly win for the ball, hammer and tongs, and like it could easily be the other way. So, like, they're the breaks you need. You need all those good players, especially like those first key players into the forward line, which Robbie O'Flynn is. And that's what every team will want, is to make sure that they all stay sound. It's a bit like the good horse, Mac. You just need him to stay sound.
Yeah.
I hope it's just not as dirty as 99. That's all I'm hoping. The time you butchered half of Clare in the Gaelic grounds in front of 23,000. I hope it's clean game. Because at the time, that hurley in your hand was like a slash hoop on the day.
And you know what, Dalo, we might have the 23,000, mightn't we?
Might have. We've been there good and early, and get your seat. Light show and all.
I fancy Dalo. I fancy you're the dark horses. I do. You're a great manager.
There's the fucking kiss of death. No one knows anyway.
I'm going to tip you, Dalo, to win next weekend, kid.
Okay, we take it anytime we can go in there. We need to turn them over. I know we did in the league last year, but the championship matches still rankle with us. I suppose they were so close and could have gone either way, but they came out on top, the big green giant. So that's it this week, lads. Any progress, did you know?
No, do you know what? I was away for the weekend and I don't have anything to promote, or nobody was on to me. We met loads of different people in Leopardstown yesterday and they were all giving us jibes about their own counties, Marco, weren't they? Those Tipperary.
You didn't make much money outside, did you?
Do you know who I met there? I never told you. I met Declan Hannon there yesterday.
Did you, Matt? Yeah.
He showed me the finger now. He got 4 stitches. And, he said, look, it's not too bad. Like, it'll be okay. But it's just one of those. He couldn't play on, but he was in great form, and he was just saying to himself, what will I do Saturday night himself and herself? He said, you know what, we'll go up to the DRF for the day out and relax. And he was in great form now. And I also met Pádraig Mahoney there. And I had a great chat with Pádraig. Look, I met him in Tramore in January.
He's really relaxed.
What? He was in great form. Yeah. And you know what? And we went through the retirement thing. Like I said, geez, I was a bit disappointed to hear that you had retired because your form with the club was fantastic. And he just said to me, Mark, after weighing it all up, he said, I've had no break with 9 or 10 years, and it just didn't have the energy to go back. And, when we all come to the end, I suppose we're all kind of clinging on to something, but he just said, I just didn't have the graw to go. And he said, Davy was more than complimentary, and he was doing everything in his power to keep him involved, he said, and would work with him and stuff like that, but he just said no. He said, I had enough, and I said, look, you gave great service to Waterford, you were a fantastic player, and, you never know where the paths will cross at some stage, but what a great guy. Absolutely brilliant guy.
Is he coming on as an ambassador with the Come On Racing now that we know he's an interest? We're looking for ambassadors. Hogan still hasn't recovered from the night out below Uncle Kenny. Like he just couldn't believe the free grub and all. You know what I mean? Like so, Pádraig might be ambassador candidate as well. Like
100%, definitely. Well, I tell you now, the challenge this year. Now that we got Hoagie with the first year's membership paid, the next challenge now is getting it renewed. So just to let people know,
guaranteed.
Let people know that your renewal for your membership isn't due till the 1st of March. So if you're an existing member last year, no sweat, hold tough. We're hoping to get a renewal button up in the system by the 1st of March, that you don't have to put in your personal details again. And for anybody who wants to join the Come On Racing Club, go onto the website and join away. Your membership will kick in from the 1st of March. But if you just, if you want to join and have the job done, we'll be able to facilitate that. There's no issue there. So new members, more than welcome. Existing members, hold tough till the 1st of March. And just to reiterate, we have an AGM online on the 20th of February, and Patrick Mullins will be joining us live for the AGM and giving us a brief on the 3 fillies that we have for 2023. And you'd never know, TJ's already after throwing it at me. Don't forget to ask him for one for chat. So we'll be doing that on the night.
Yeah. I'll be attempting. I might have to get a quasi chairman to stand in for me, because I'm not used to chairing meetings. I'm not great for going to AGMs and stuff like that, as the Clarecastle J people would tell you. So we'll get through it somewhere or another anyway. Looking forward to that.
Because there's over 120 people have already registered out of a possible, we had 470 members last year. The first 250 people are going to get an entrance into it. So if you have got the text message or the WhatsApp message, please register for the AGM.
Yeah. And you're fielding all the difficult questions on the night yourself and Donald Marcy.
Financial irregularity.
I leave the difficult ones to TJ.
Hoagie, thanks a million for joining us. Pleasure always to have you to get the Kilkenny slant. Early days for Derek, and we'll see more now. Games coming up.
Big one this weekend.
Yeah, who have you this weekend?
Tip.
It's Tip, and then in fairness, and we gave it a huge mention. It's Tip again the following week in the Dylan Cork GoFundMe for the SADS Foundation, and there's 2 massive games. We were saying there might be more even the following week with the cause that's in it for the Dylan Cork Foundation. Tip and Kilkenny. So great games next weekend, lads. And we'll see you all again next Monday. All right?
A grain of rice is going to tip the scale. Just remember that, lad.
There's a small bit of a needle there.
Now, come on, Mayo, you've got to get Andy Moran into the game.
Our mission was to show that we're no longer the whipping boys of Munster.